All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, after a win, I'd like to start off with our players of the week. Offensively, a young man that played his best game for us, graded out 90% on 74 snaps and had 9 cut blocks downfield. It really helped us with some explosive plays. Our starting left guard, Ben Dew. On defense, player of the game has been done a great job all season. Has really been consistent in his performance week in and week out. Felt like he really controlled the line of scrimmage, disrupted some things in the backfield, had 2 tackles. From a production standpoint, on paper, may not appear to be as impressive, but again, really controlled the line of scrimmage, and that's senior defensive lineman Joey Embu. And then on special teams, we had 2 players of the week. Kickoff specialist Ty Cummings had 7 kickoffs, 4 for touchbacks, and his hang time was outstanding, a couple over 4 seconds, which is tremendous. And then defensive lineman Gavin Stansbury got our first blocked kick of the season, and it was on a field goal and a great individual effort by Gavin. Scout players of the week on offense. Running back Khalid Kakuma, on defense linebacker Austin Potter, and on special teams Clayton Brown, safety Clayton Brown. So, looking back at the game, again, I mentioned this after the game publicly. An extremely fast start, which didn't last long. We kicked off, gave our defense great field position, went 3 and out, got the ball back. Offensively, based on the win and the punt by SMU in great field position, the first play offensively, Greg Ward ran for a touchdown. We're up 7-0. Defensively in the first half, we gave up somewhere around 140, 150 yards or so, and I think 67 on the 1 3rd and long touchdown pass they threw to their tight end. So again, you certainly can't take a play out statistically, but defensively, other than that play, we did play well on paper in the first half. Missed some tackles on Matt Davis, their quarterback, that we got cleaned up in the second half. And offensively, 4 drop passes in the first half, two balls that were tipped at the line of scrimmage, 1 for an interception, and didn't get into a rhythm early, and were able to come back in the second half and clean some things up, and I thought we executed much better. And it was good for the second consecutive game on offense to come out and our opening drive, go down and score in both halves, both the first half and second half. So again, a great challenge this week. Again, a little bit of a longer week, certainly compared to what we just went through last week. And going on the road, playing a team that again has been in this league through the transition for quite a bit of time, and it certainly shows in the job that Coach Tuberville and his staff and previous staffs have done recruiting. Very, very athletic, very talented, across the board offensively. I think they run the ball effectively. They've been banged up and lost some contributors at the running back position early in the season. They're still running the ball well and throwing at Gunnar Keel in his first year in their program. In terms of being eligible, he had to sit out last year with the transfer. Is doing a tremendous job. I think 28 touchdown passes to 11 interceptions. He's got almost 3,000 yards passing to this point, and has got a number of candidates to choose from as to who he's going to throw the football to. I think I saw they've got 5 receivers that are about 380 yards receiving or more already this season. So they do a good job spreading the football around. Shaq Washington, Mikhail McKay, 2 veterans there that we've certainly got to know where those 2, among others, line up. And then defensively, Jeff Luke, another transfer that's playing extremely well for him. I think he's got 6 sacks at his linebacker position, and they list him at 6'1", 260. He's got 6 forced fumbles. He's all over the field. And then Nick Temple, I think I saw where he's the conference defensive player of the week this week for his performance last game, and another linebacker that's extremely active. So, you know, we've got to, again, I've said this before, so it's not like it's anything new. Regardless of our opponent, we've got to execute. And, you know, I think while our team certainly enjoys playing at home in TDECU Stadium, I think it's been shown this year we enjoy going on the road and competing as well. So it'll be another opportunity with the renovations they're doing to their stadium on campus to play in another National Football League stadium and nationally televised game Saturday morning. So I think everyone in our program will be looking forward to this challenge. Any questions?
Tony, I think after the SMU game, your words were second half you needed to refocus, and it was as much between the ears. How do you interpret that in terms of this late in the season to have a team at the locker room do that when you're this far along? And is it the opponent getting up for it, maybe overlooking, or what exactly did you mean by that?
No, well, again, I said it last week, and we addressed it last week. You know, going into that game, it had a unique feel to it for a number of different reasons. The shortened week, the rivalry game, the fact we were traveling on a holiday on Thanksgiving and having so many of our student athletes from that area, and again, using the word distractions, certainly not making excuses. You know, when you get into rivalry games, and you saw it, this was a rivalry weekend, and you saw great examples of it across the country, where there were close football games. And when you look back on this season, early in games, SMU had been in games and you know, letting them, some didn't end up as close as others, but I felt like we needed to refocus in terms of when you see dropped balls, when you see tip passes, when you see things that are a little bit abnormal as to what you have seen in games prior, it could be a focus issue. And again, you know, we felt like at halftime we'll always make adjustments, and I think you know, we've done a great job at halftime all season, regardless of opponent, as a coaching staff, making adjustments in all three phases. But when you feel like there's plays there to be made, and for whatever reason aren't being made, you got to get refocused and get dialed back in, and that was a lot of the conversation at halftime.
Coach, what is their challenge offensively? Obviously, the quarterback aired out with some of the best in the country. That's the biggest challenge, trying to slow him down.
Well, I think, you know, as you watch the film, and we said this a year ago, up front, they've got a tremendous offensive line. He's hard to get to, and Gunnar Keel has rushed for, I think, 300 yards or so gross on the year in terms of scrambling. They've got some designed runs for him as well. So, you know, similar to the quarterback they had last year for them, he's a big kid. I think they list him at 6'4", somewhere around 210 pounds. He looks bigger than that on video, and he's very accurate in throwing the football. So, you know, at times, quite often, he's got time back there in the pocket. We've got to try to, you know, disrupt him if we can. And again, while this is his first year playing for them, he's been in the program now 2 years, so he's certainly got some familiarity with their scheme and what they want to do. And you know, he was a highly recruited young man out of high school. He's got all the tools. And so again, you'd like to say, you'd like to look at a passing game or running game, regardless of opponent, and say, well, I can identify a weakness. Or some programs we played this season have a certain receiver that really stands out, either athletically on video or statistically. And that's not the case with them in their passing game, you know. And they've thrown the ball all over the field. He's averaging, you know, right around just under, I think, 300 yards or around 300 yards passing, and you know, 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. And again, as I mentioned earlier, with the five receivers on paper that all have tremendous stats, and not only in yards but in touchdown receptions, with Mikhail McKay having the most. It's not like he's got his favorite target. There's 5 guys. You got to know where they are, and that'll be the challenge for us.
Tony, I think Greg had 2 rushing touchdowns in the game, and Kenneth has played really well lately. But at this point, the direction of the offense? Are you resigned to it being that run-based offense and having a quarterback that he still throws a lot of attempts, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of emphasis now on the downfield, more of the vertical passing game?
Well, I was looking, you know, and it's certainly a good question. Greg Ward, when you look on paper and you factor in the sacks, which obviously lost yardage in his last game, I think he had just under 100 yards rushing and 3 rushing touchdowns. And we did not call a quarterback run in this last game. So, you know, I think him making plays and the production right there is something, not to say he did on his own. There were some plays we had designed where he's got to make a decision, but he's got the option on a number of those plays, including the first play of the game, to hand the football off based on the look. So, you know, I looked at the stats this morning, and on our downfield throws right now, statistically, we're not having success, and we're not being productive. And you know, again, we want to play to our strengths. And as a team right now, we are running the football well. And I think as you look back in the last couple games, there have been some receivers that have had production. You know, Stephen Dunbar a couple games ago, Deontay Greenberry a few games ago. But again, in terms of what we have to do week in and week out, you know, with our defense, I think we're top 10 in the nation right now in scoring defense. You know, so I go back to a game we lost a few weeks ago against Tulane and called 62 passes and ended up throwing 4 interceptions. So, you know, it'll start with turnovers and turnover margin and taking care of the football. And what the defense is going to give us. We've played some defenses where they're going to play with 2 safeties and try to keep everything in front of them and make you execute. And if that's the case, then you know, we'll take what they give us and try to move the chains. And you know, if we see where we feel like we can throw the ball over safeties' heads and take shots downfield, you know, we'll do that as well. We had in this last game, we threw the ball deep 3 times, which again, it's not a lot, and we got we did get 2 pass interference calls off of those. So you know, again, there's going to be times when we have to take shots downfield to keep them honest, and there'll be other times when we go into a game saying we've got to throw the football vertically. But again, every week's a little bit different, and you know, we've talked about trying to be balanced, and I think a few games ago with our run game, we were able to open up the passing game a little bit more than we had in the past.
I guess the follow-up to that is, when you made a quarterback change early in the year, does that, I don't want to use the word throw off, but does it affect maybe the continuity, so to speak, of the offense and maybe what you had then, what you have now, and what you can do? And with what you do have right now, do you have the confidence that you can achieve that? Can you throw downfield effectively if you need to?
We can, and you know, to answer that in completely, I think it has changed the dynamic of our offense. And again, whether right or wrong, you know, standing here in the first week of December, you know, we made the decision to move Greg Ward to receiver full-time last spring. And obviously he's got familiarity with having been in our offense, but then the first week of October, mid-season, say, okay, you're coming back from full-time receiver and some limited packages at quarterback to now full-time quarterback. You know, it's a little bit reminiscent of last season, talking about the entire playbook. And you know, we talk all the time about our quarterbacks got to feel comfortable with you know, not only what we have schematically, but what we're asking him to do physically. And you know, can Greg Ward throw the ball down the field? Absolutely, he can. Did it last season a couple times in a limited role, and you know, so again, we want to make sure he's comfortable with everything that goes into playing that position at a high level, in terms of what the game plan is, what the plays are that are being called, and then certainly that he can execute those. And you know, I go back to this last game. He makes a throw in this last game where he throws it over Stephen Dunbar's head on a post route, and he comes off the field, and again did that intentionally because a defender dropped under the throw and had a little bit of pressure and intentionally threw the ball over his head, and he put the film on, and it's exactly the way he mentioned it. So he's making great decisions. I don't know exactly. I know a week ago I think he was 3rd or 4th in the nation in completion percentage. and he's doing a good job taking care of the football. So, again, the interception he threw against SMU was a tip pass at the line of scrimmage that their linebacker made a good play on. So we've got great confidence in him making all the throws. Again, I think every game's a little bit different. This last game and the South Florida game both had 20-mile-an-hour winds that, depending on what direction you were going, affected the ball in the air as well. So, we feel like we can throw it downfield with him, and again, I think moving forward we're going to see that. How much, I don't know at this time.
Talk a little bit more about Kenneth Farrow and what he's done, and the positions I guess y'all, that he's been in to be able to provide, that offense kind of when you need it.
Well, and again, going back on Farrow, and I probably hadn't said this in a while, was recruited here as a safety. So as a freshman, he redshirted, played safety on our scout team, and then in December of 2011, similar to what we're going to do next week, really evaluate our young guys, our guys that are redshirting or have backup roles, and kind of see if there's any guys we need to move around for the 12 to 15 practice opportunities we'll have in December heading into spring practice. We moved Kenneth from safety to running back. So, really certainly excited about his development at that position and how he's played this season. And again, I think going into this season, I mentioned publicly how important we felt like it was going to be for both Kenneth Farrow and Ryan Jackson to stay healthy for this entire year, which is something neither of them had done in the previous 2 years. They're both juniors this year, Ryan a true junior and Farrow a redshirt junior. We've relied on them heavily, certainly. I think we've done a good job in terms of keeping them fresh. They play about somewhere between 40 and 45 snaps a game on offense. And Tyler McCloskey at fullback plays about 20 to 25 snaps, and between the three of them, you look at Kenneth Farrow and he's carrying the ball 20 to 22 times a game and playing 40 snaps. So every other down that he's in the game, he's running the football, and we've don't have great depth there right now. Again, both of them are juniors. Randall Holloman is third on our depth chart and has had a role in certain games and on special teams. Khalid Kukuma, who I mentioned a number of times as a scout team player of the week, has been a young man that we have traveled to all of our away games and prepared him to play, but we are going to redshirt him this season. Javin Webb's a young man, played early in the season and was dismissed from our program about a month ago for violating team rules. So, it's really become a three-man show now with Tyler McCloskey being the fullback and doing a great job in blocking. But again, I heard this the other day, Kenneth Farrow with 11 rushing touchdowns, and the all-time single-season rushing record is 15 touchdowns, and he's got 500-yard rushing games this season, which leads our conference. So, he's a young man that loves to play football. I think it shows in the way he carries himself, in his demeanor, and the fact that he's on a couple of our special teams as well. And as much as anything, I think it speaks volumes that our 105 young men in our program voted him a year ago as a sophomore team captain. So he's got a chance to leave here after next season as a three-time captain, and certainly that speaks volumes for the type of young man Kenneth Farrow is.
So Kukuma has not played?
He is.
The thing here listed as he's played in one game. That's why.
No, he has not played.
Okay.
He has not.
So basically, during the bowl practices, you spend that. Everybody knows you spend that time to kind of get some extra practices, but do you focus on guys like him or some of the other ones that will be here, or moving on that you can?
Yes.
Where they fit?
Yeah, so for bowl practice, and we met on as a staff today, and we've got that schedule pretty much finalized. We're going to get in about 10 practices with our entire team, but a lot of that focus will be on the young guys. So our veterans will come out as a team for an hour or so in those 10 practices, and Joseph, just so I'm clear, this is prior to really the game week of the bowl. So this will be almost like 10 spring practices, but we'll come out, veterans will go for about an hour, and then they'll go in, and then the young guys, any backups or guys that we've redshirted, a true freshman, or some young guys that are playing this year, like a Stephen Dunbar, like a Khalil Williams, guys that are true freshmen that we just feel like need more attention, more practice time. Will stay out there for an additional hour. And those will be really, really valuable practices. And then we're going to look at, there'll be a handful of young men in our program that will look at changing positions. And again, we did that, I think, with DeJuan Hines in the past. Obviously, I just mentioned Farrow. We've done that with a number of young men, over the course of the years here, and we'll certainly do that. And that'll begin next week. We start finals, and a little bit of a disadvantage for our staff playing this Saturday is that the recruiting, being able to go on the road, started Sunday. So a lot of schools, if they're done with the regular season, they're all out recruiting this week. Our coaches did go out Sunday night and last night late to see some young men in their homes and their families. But next week is the final week of December, where college football coaches can go on the road recruiting. So our staff's going to be on the road recruiting. Our student athletes will work out, will lift weights and condition, and then finish up their classes, begin their finals, and then that. I want to say the 13th, 12th, 13th, the 15th is that Monday. We'll be back on the 15th practicing, and that'll be the first of our bowl practices, if you will.
The way the bowls are structured now, there really aren't a lot of surprises unless you're the top, top of the selection committee. So have you been given any indication? It seems like all the talk's been about you guys hitting the full board, regardless of what happens this weekend. But are you preparing that way, or is there anything you can say on kind of what you're looking at bowl-wise?
Well, we, again, I don't know what I can and can't say. We'll know more, I think, Saturday night, and certainly all the announcements come Sunday afternoon. But right now we're preparing as though we'll play somewhere around the first of the year, and it's like you said. I think we had representatives from the Armed Forces Bowl and the Independence Bowl present at our game Friday up in Dallas, and you never know. There's still a lot of things that can shake out in terms of games that still need to be played this weekend. But in terms of us setting our calendar, we're trying to set it as though we're going to play right around the first of the year.